We continue now at the top of Daf Hey Amud Aleph in Maseches Makos. This is Makos Daf 5a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara asked where Rabbi Meir has a warning for Edom Zomim, and the source for Rabbi Meir was, it says, V'hanisharim yishmu v'yiro v'lo yosifu lasos. It says that those who are remaining, they are going to hear and they'll be afraid, and they won't continue to do. That is the source for the warning for Edom Zomim, according to Rabbi Meir. And the Gemara now says, what about the Rabbanan? What do they do with that pasuk? And the Gemara answers, Lahachraza. They use that for the idea that it has to be announced what happens. We have to make a pronouncement. Rashi explains Lachraza. The Amrinan b'Sanhedrin, because we say in Sanhedrin Be'elohen anechnokin, in Perak Elohen anechnokin, Arbot Tzrichin Hachraza. There are 4 cases where we need to make the announcement. La'achar shenenshu bebezdin, after they're punished in court. Tzrichin bezdin lahachriz, bezdin needs to announce kach v'kach nerag ploni bebezdin alaver plonis kedei l'radus as hashom, and they say so and so was killed in such and such a court for such and such an avera, and that's in order that the people who are hearing that they should take that to heart. They shouldn't commit that same sin. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Meir. Now, Rabbi Meir, where does he learn Hachraza? Hachraza miyishmu v'yiro nafka. He learns Hachraza, the idea of announcement. It's really from the same pasuk we just quoted, but just from part of that pasuk. Yishmu v'yiro, that teaches the idea of Hachraza, and then lo yosifu, that is the warning, as Rashi explains. V'yishmu v'yiro nafka v'azhara mi lo yosifu. Again, from the fact that they hear and they will be afraid, that's where we learn Hachraza, and lo yosifu, that's where we have the warning for Edom Zomim. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Mishalshin b'mammon, ve'in mishalshin b'makas. We can divide up the payment of the Edom Zomim by money, but you can't do such a division when it comes to Malchus, as the Mishnah now explains. Keitzad, how so? Heidu shu chayv l'chaver masayim zuz. Let's say they testify against a certain person that he's chayv to pay 200 zuz to his friend. V'nimtzu Zomim. It turns out that they're Edom Zomim, they are false witnesses. Mishalshin b'neim. They can divide up the 200 zuz among them, meaning to say they don't each have to pay 200 zuz. They just have to pay among all of them a total of 200 zuz. Avalim hidu shuchayev malchus arboim. But in contrast, when it comes to malchus, let's say they testify that he's liable to 40 lashes. V'nimtzu zomen, and it turns out that they're false witnesses. Kol echad v'yechad lo karboim. Every single one of them is going to get 40 lashes. And the Gemara says, Minohani Mili, from where do we know this? Amar Abaya says, Nemar Rasha b'chayve Malchus, v'nemar Rasha b'chayve Misas Bezin. It says the word Rasha when it comes to those who are liable to get Malchus, and it also says the word Rasha when it comes to those who are liable to get Misas Bezin, to get the death penalty. We learn out Malchus from the death penalty, and that's the source we cannot split up Malchus. Because Malahalan and Misal Lemechsa, just like by the death penalty, obviously you cannot get a half of a death penalty, Afkan and Malchus Lemechsa. So too when it comes to Malchus, you can't get a half of Malchus, you can't get less than 40 Malchus. Everybody has to get 40 Malchus. That's the source according to Abaya. Rava says, Bo'inan kasher zamam lasos la'achiv aleka. The reason is because the pasuk says we have to give to them what they tried to give to the defendant. They tried to give 40 Malchus, so they each have to get 40 Malchus. But the Gemara says, according to that answer, if so, mamanami, say the same thing by money. They tried that he should pay 200 zuz. They should each have to pay 200 zuz. Why do they get to divide up the payment among all of them? And the Gemara says to that, mammon mitzdarif, Malchus lo mitzdarif. Money, by its nature, you can combine together different payments. You cannot do that by Malchus. You cannot do that by lashes. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Ein ha'edem nasim zomamin ad sheyozimu es atzman. Witnesses cannot be false witnesses unless they themselves are falsified, as the Mishnah will now explain. Keitzad, how so? Amru me'idin anu b'ishploni shahar ages hanefesh. Let's say they say we're testifying against a certain person that he killed somebody. Amru lahem, and they say to them, Heichatem me'idin, meaning other witnesses come in and say, how can you possibly be giving this testimony? Sharei nerag zeh, because the person killed, o hahoreg zeh, or the person who did the killing, haya imanu oso hayom. He was with us that day in this other place. So in that case, Ein Elu Zomin, that's not called Edom Zomin because they're not falsifying the witnesses themselves. They're falsifying some account of the witness's story. Aval Amru Lahem, but if they say to them, Hey Chatem Me'idin, how can you testify? Sharei Atem Hayisam Imanu Osa Hayom B'Makom Ploni, because you were with us on that day in a particular place. You, the witnesses, were not in that place that you claim to be. So that's a testimony against the witnesses themselves, so to speak. Harei Elu Zomin. So in that case, they are considered to be Edom Zomin, v'ne'eragan al piyam, and then the Edom Zomin would be killed because they're trying to kill the defendant, and so the second set of witnesses is causing the first set of witnesses to be put to death. And the Mishnah continues, Bo acherim v'hizimim, bo acherim v'hizimim. Let's say over and over again, the person brings witnesses, they're bringing witnesses against the defendant. One set of witnesses comes in, says this person is a murderer, and that set of witnesses is proven Edom Zomin. And then another set of witnesses comes in and say this person's a murderer, and then the same two witnesses say that person, they were also with us, everyone was with us. Afilu meya kulam yergu, even if it's 100 times, we kill them all, they're all Edom Zomin. Rabbi Yehuda says, this is already a conspiracy. We're only going to kill the first set, we will not kill the subsequent sets. And the Gemara says, Menahani Mili, from where do we know this? From where do we know that you have to falsify the witnesses themselves for them to be considered Edom Zomamin? And the Gemara says, Amar Ravada says, the Amar Krutz, because the Pasuk says, V'nei Eid Sheker Ho'eid Sheker Ana, Sheker Ana, and we mean to say, Ad Sheti Shaker Gufa Shal Eidos. The Pasuk is saying, Eid Sheker, you have to falsify the testimony itself. That's how we learn out the idea in our Mishnah. Devei Rabbi Shmuel taught, in the Yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel, it was taught, Lanos Bo Sara. It says that you have to say that it's Sarah means to say that it's a perverted testimony. And again, we darshan ad shatisra gufa shaledis. You have to pervert the testimony itself. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Bo shnayim v'yamru, let's say two people come and they say, B'mizrach bira, in the eastern tower, Harag plonias hanefesh, so-and-so killed someone. Uvo shnayim v'yamru, and then two other people come and they say, V'alo b'mayrav bira imanu ha'yisem, but you were with us in the western tower. So then in that case, Chazina, we have to see. Ikedekaimi b'mayrav bira michse chazul l'mizrach bira, if when a person is in the western tower, he's able to see the eastern tower, ein elu zomin, then these would not be false witnesses. It's possible they're telling the truth. V'im lav, and if not, and then they are considered false witnesses. The Gemara says, Pshita, well, isn't that obvious? The Gemara says, Ma'u d'tema, what might you have said, Lechosh l'nahora birya? Maybe we should be concerned that they have excellent vision. Maybe they just are able to see in this situation what normal people cannot see. Kamash malon, so it's coming to teach us that that is not the case. V'yamar Rava, and Rava says, Bo shnayim v'yamru b'sura b'tzafra b'chad b'shavsa. Let's say two people come and they say in Surah in the morning on Sunday, Harag plonias hanefesh, so-and-so killed so-and-so. Uvo shnayim v'yamru, and then two other people come and say, Befanya b'chad b'shavsa, in the afternoon of Sunday, Imanu ha'yisem ben Nahardoi, you were with us in Nahardoi. So how could you testify that you were in Surah in the morning? And so again the Gemara says, Chazina, we have to see, if from morning to afternoon, Matzi Ozil Misur la Nahardoi, it's possible to travel from Surah to Nahardoi, lo have zomin, then they're not considered false. Vila, but if not, have zomin, then they are considered false. Again the Gemara says, Pshita, isn't that obvious? The Gemara says, Ma'u d'tema, what might you have said? Leichosh l'gam l'pircha, we should be concerned for the flying camels. It means to say very fast camels. Maybe they were able to travel that distance. Kamash Malan, again, it's coming to teach us we don't concern ourselves with these remote kinds of possibilities. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rav, and Rav says, Bo shnayim v'yamru, let's say two people come and they say, V'chad b'shav saharak plonias hanefesh, that on Sunday, so-and-so killed so-and-so. Uvo shnayim v'yamru, and then two others come and say, Imanu ha'yisam b'chad b'shav, so you were actually with us on Sunday, Ela b'trei b'shav saharak plonias hanefesh, but actually it happened on Monday that so-and-so killed so-and-so. V'lo, not only that, Ela afilu amru, even if the second set of witnesses, they say, Erev Shabbos harak plonias hanefesh, that it was on Friday that he killed, meaning to say, it actually did happen even before you said, this person was chayiv misa even beforehand, neherag, and they are killed. Because nevertheless, at the time that those first false witnesses were testifying, Gavra la bar katalu, the person they're testifying against, he wasn't yet liable to actually receive the death penalty, even if he already had committed the murder. But he wasn't yet, there was no verdict that he was getting a death penalty, so they testified to try to kill a person who was at that point in time not someone who was supposed to receive the death penalty, and so therefore again, they get the punishment of kasher zamam, what they tried to do. But the Gemara continues, My Kamashmal, and well, what is Rav exactly teaching us? Tanina, we already learned this in a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Lafikach, therefore, Nimtzes Achas Mehen Zomemis, if it turns out that one of them is false, Hu Vehein Neherag, and so then he and they are going to be killed, Vahashniya Patur, and the second group is going to be Patur, meaning to say, the Mishnah is saying, you can have a situation where the person actually is a murderer and he gets killed, but the Eidim who testified, they were testifying falsely and they also get killed. That's what it says in the Mishnah, so what exactly is Rav teaching us? And the Gemara says, Seifa, it's really the end, meaning the end teaching of Rava, that's the Chiddush, because he goes on to say, Masha ein kein b'gemar din. He says it's not true if they're testifying about verdicts. It's trichle. That's what was necessary to teach. Because what is the end of teaching? It's as follows. Let's say we have the following case. Bo shnayim v'yamru, if two people come and they say, B'chad b'shavsa, nigmar dina shal ploni, on Sunday, so-and-so had a verdict. They're not testifying that he murdered on Sunday. They're testifying there was a verdict against the defendant on Sunday. Uvo shnayim v'yamru, and then two other people come and say, B'chad b'shavsa, you were with us on Sunday. Ela be'erev Shabbos nigmar dino shel ploni, but it happened on Friday that there was a verdict. So there was a verdict before the time that you say there was a verdict. V'lo, not only that, ela afilu amar, even if they say betrei b'shavsa nigmar dino shel ploni. Let's say all of this is happening on Tuesday, and the second setting they come in and they say it happened on Monday that there was a verdict. Ein elu neharagin. That first set of witnesses, even though they are false witnesses and they were trying to kill someone, they do not get killed because devoina the kamisadi. Because at the time that they're testifying, Gavra bar Katalahu, it does turn out that this person was liable to the death penalty. He's already a dead person at that point in time by Tuesday, and so therefore you're testifying to kill a person who's already halachically, so to speak, considered to be dead. He's already liable to the death penalty, and therefore they will not get the punishment of kasher zamam. They will not get the punishment of the death penalty in that case. And the Gemara continues, V'chein le'inyan tashlumei kanas. The same thing would be true when it comes to payments of kanas, of fines. Let's say you have the following case. Bo'oshnayim v'yamru, let's say two people come and they say, B'chad b'shavsa gonav v'tavach u'mochar. On Sunday, this person stole and he slaughtered and he sold. In that situation, there's going to be a fine that is imposed. That's talking about a situation of geneva, where you then have the fine of 4 or 5 times the amount when you do tvicha mechira. Uvo v'yamru, and then two people come and say, B'chad b'shavsa imonu ha'yisam, you can't be testifying truthfully because you were with us on Sunday. Ela b'trei b'shavsa gonav v'tavach u'mochar. But it happened on Monday that he stole and he slaughtered, or he sold. So then Mishalman in those situations, again, they pay, because they're not talking about a verdict over there. We're talking about the testimony. Not only that, even if the second set say that it happened earlier on Friday that he stole and he slaughtered or he sold, Mishalman, again, they're going to pay. Because at the time that they're actually testifying, Gavra Lav Bar Tashluminu, they're testifying against a person who did not yet have to pay. There was no verdict on this person. But in contrast, Bo Shnayim V'Yamru, if two people come and they say, that on Sunday the person stole, slaughtered, or sold it, v'nigmar dino, and there was a verdict, uvo shnayim v'yamru, and then two others come and say, b'chad b'shavsi imanu ha'yisam, you're not testifying truthfully because you were with us on Sunday. Ela erev Shabbos ganav v'tavach u'machar, but it did happen on Friday that he stole and slaughtered or sold, v'nigmar dino, and there was a verdict already. V'lo, not only that, ela afilu amru b'chad b'shavsi ganav v'tavach u'machar, uv'trei b'shavsi nigmar dino, even if they say that it was on Sunday that he stole and slaughtered and sold, and there was a verdict on Monday, so the verdict happened after you're saying it happened, but it happened already by now, by Tuesday when this is all happening. Again, ein mishalman, in these cases they don't pay, because at the time that they're testifying, Gavra bar Tashlumin, who the person already is liable to payment, so they're not really being mechayev him anything that he was not already chayev. And Rashi explains, V'chein le'inyan tashlumei kanas, the same is true when it comes to payments of fines. The key point about a kanas is shehamoda bo pater. Again, by a fine, if somebody admits, they're actually exempt. So dino nami bozek kedina nefasha. So therefore, it's considered the same as dina nefashas. V'yesh chiluk bein edus guf ha'maisa la'edus shel gemar din. We can make that distinction between testifying on what happened, the crime that was committed, and testifying on the fact that there was a verdict. And Rashi continues and explains, Upeirusha, the explanation is, mishum dehavim motzi lemifter nafshe behoda. Since this person could have gotten out of it by admitting, it comes out that these witnesses are the ones, they're the ones that are causing him to lose out. V'davka kanas, now that's only true by a fine. Aval be'edus mammon, but let's say it would be testimony on mammon, let's say it would be testimony on money, so then patur, and then they actually would be patur, sharei lo hayu mafsidin oso klum, achar shu mechuyev yomid, because by money, if he is in fact chayiv, in other words, let's say we're not talking about a verdict by a monetary payment, it's not a fine, but we're not talking about a verdict, let's say they come in, and they say he's chayiv to pay $100, and then two other witnesses come in and they say the first set of witnesses is false, but he actually is chayiv to pay $100. So in that situation, he is fully chayiv to pay that $100. They're really not doing anything to him, and they actually would not be liable. That's not true by a fine, because by a situation of a fine, when they're coming in and saying that he's liable to pay a fine, and they're not testifying on the verdict, they're just testifying on what happened, so there really, he's really, even if he was chayiv the knas, he's not really chayiv, because he could admit and get out of it. That's how Rashi understands, because mod of knas is potter. So they really are trying to be mechayiv him something he's not really chayiv, and that's why we say that is true. But Gavra bar Tashluminu, but again, if it's talking about the verdict, he already is somebody that has to pay. And again, at the time that they testify about him, he's already chayiv in court. Vihavi modi lo havim ifter. If he would admit, he would not get out of it. And we will note that Rashi uses the same logic when it comes to the death penalty. My time at when Tuesday comes, to testify about him, Akati Gavra Lav Bar Katola. He wasn't yet really liable to the death penalty. Again, if we're talking not about testifying about verdicts, but testifying about what happened, Shalohuad Olav Bebezim, because as long as it wasn't taken care of in court that there was a verdict, V'ilu Have Asi Umodif, he would come and admit. Rashi uses the same idea. Have a mifter, he would be exempt from the death penalty. Nimsa shehem hayu mechayiv and misa as misheinu roy lama. So it would come out that they're being mechayiv somebody death who really wasn't yet liable to the death penalty. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rav Yehuda Omer, Rav Yehuda says, Istatis hizu, this is considered to be a conspiracy. This is when you have the same set of witnesses. They keep falsifying any set of witnesses that come forward and testify, let's say, about the murder. So Rav Yehuda says, we can't put to death all of these witnesses that come forward. Rav Yehuda says we're only going to kill the first set of witnesses. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Hey Amud Beis.